All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back into the Beatin' the Bookie show. Today is Wednesday, October the 4th. We're coming off another great week of college and NFL football, and we're poised to have another great week this weekend. So let's go ahead and dive on into the games this week, man. First game of the week, number 3 Texas. They're 6.5-point favorites heading to Oklahoma. The total's set at 60.5. What you think about it?
Well, it's actually in the Cotton Bowl. So
the Cotton Bowl, yeah. My apologies.
The Red River Shootout. Texas, Texas has faced, Bama. Texas has has had quite a tougher schedule than Oklahoma so far. Oklahoma's pretty much played just a trash schedule. I mean, Cincinnati game looked tough at first on paper, considering the past years of Cincinnati, but Cincinnati
Those years are gone.
They're long gone. In Oklahoma, they really haven't been tested this year. They really haven't played anybody. So I'm interested to see where Oklahoma is, this game. I mean, they're the only team in the country, I think, that has a top 5 offense and top 5 defense as far as points per game and points allowed per game. So this will be a big test for Oklahoma. It's a tough game because, like I said, Oklahoma hasn't really played anybody yet. So we just don't know how tough they are, right? I've seen them struggle a little bit at times in games. They struggled against
that SMU game.
Yeah, and they struggled against Cincinnati for a while. And Texas has been tested. I think Texas has won this game the last couple of years, including Oklahoma blowing a huge lead. I think last year Oklahoma blew like a huge lead to them. So I kind of, I would lean with Texas in this spot just because of their experience, just because who they played this year. They've already played a big game, right? And Oklahoma hasn't. So Texas, I think the history is going for them here, and I would definitely lean with the Longhorns.
Yeah, I like the Longhorns here too. I mean, 6.5. It seems a little low for me. I feel like Texas, like you said, they've proven themselves already. They've won on the big stage already this year with this team that they've got. Oklahoma, they haven't. I like the Horns here, man. I really like the Horns, and that 6.5 number, I like it. I like it at that number as well.
Yeah, I think Texas has the better wide receivers, better quarterback,
better lines on both sides of the football.
The Oklahoma's quarterback, he's very Dylan Gabriel. He's good, but Quinn Ewers is, I think, a better passer, and he's got better receivers to throw to. Texas just seems like the bigger, more physical team, so I would definitely lean Texas here.
Yep, I'm right there with you. Moving on, number 1 Georgia. They're going to Kentucky, number 20. The total is set at 48.5 and Georgia minus 14.5. This past week, we saw Georgia get extremely tested against Auburn, which is not what I was expecting whatsoever. But they just didn't look that hot. I mean, their offense wasn't clicking. Their defense, it looked okay. They held Auburn to, 20 points. Final score was 27-20. But Georgia, they took a long time to get rolling last year, and they're definitely taking a long time to get rolling this year. If they're going to get rolling, they need to start doing it pretty quick. Because Kentucky, They played Florida this past week. I don't know how bad Florida is, but Kentucky looked pretty solid.
Yeah, I think I talked on Drew Martin's show last week that pick every game on the board. I talked about how Georgia was just a slow starter this year, and Georgia comes out slow out of the gates. Their offense really gets rolling in the second half. So I gave out on that show the first half under that hit pretty easily. And Georgia just, they take a while to get going, right? And at some point that's going to change. But I think, Auburn, that's a rivalry game they have with Auburn. And Auburn always shows up for these rivalry games no matter how bad they are in the past. No matter who's their quarterback, they always show up. And they're a big and physical team. So Georgia had a tough time against their D-line in the first half, but Georgia kind of started passing the ball more with Beck in the second half, and he looked pretty good throwing the ball to McConkey and
McConkey's awesome.
Brock Bowers. So they kind of, they were pulling away. So if that game would have had 2 more quarters, they probably would have won by 3 touchdowns. But it was nice of them to get out there with a W. Kentucky. The thing about Kentucky is they have a great run game. That running back last week just destroyed the Gators.
He did.
Almost 300 yards rushing.
That was in the first quarter. He had 200-something yards.
He had 190 yards on 9 carries to start the game. So, but the thing about Kentucky is the reason Auburn was able to have success against Georgia was because the quarterback run, right?
Devin Leary, man, NC State transfer.
I don't see that with Kentucky. I don't see Kentucky being able to run like a Leary at quarterback. Auburn had brought in this one kid, the backup quarterback, and he was pretty fast. I mean,
Robbie Ashford.
Yeah, whatever his name was, but he was pretty good, and that was kind of killing Georgia, right? The quarterback run, design quarterbacks run. I don't think Kentucky doesn't have that. They just run the power run game. I think it's going to be tough to run power run at Georgia at their defensive line. In Kentucky, they're not really going to beat you through the air. So I could see this being another low-scoring game also. But
totals at 48.5.
Because it's kind of like I talked about this with who did I talk about this with last week? But one of the games I was talking about how like people are not scared of Kentucky passing the ball, so they're not gonna respect the pass game, so they're gonna beg Kentucky to pass the ball, right? Just, hey, we're begging you to pass. We know you're gonna run, and we're gonna load up the box, and we're gonna stop it. And I think that's where teams have trouble against Georgia. So I think I like Kentucky, but I think they're gonna be in a little trouble this week, especially coming off that high emotional game against Florida. They hate Florida.
2 years in a row now for them
after losing for like 30 straight. So I like, I don't know if I want to lay the 14.5, but
it's a lot.
I might look at like the under for the first half, like I said, or something like that. But I don't think Georgia faces really any problems in this one.
Yeah, I don't think there's too much danger of Kentucky upsetting Georgia here, but low scoring, like you said, could definitely be the play. Moving on, number 10, Notre Dame at number 25 at Louisville. Notre Dame 6.5-point favorites. Total is 54. I mean, Notre Dame, I don't know what to think anymore. After the Ohio State game and after the Duke game, before those two games, I'm like, oh yeah, baby, this is Notre Dame's year. They're absolute firepower on offense is just unstoppable. They look great, but I don't know if I really feel that way anymore. What do you think?
I mean, they played two good teams. Ohio State, obviously, really good. And Duke, I talked about it last week. People just assume Duke is a basketball school, but we see now they have a really good football team. And, Duke, for all intents and purposes, they should have won that game. They should have, you have 4th and 6 from the Notre Dame 33-yard line. And instead of going for it, you just need 6 yards to win the game, to take a knee, to move on undefeated. You punt the ball from the Notre Dame 33. You don't even roll out your kicker. Although the kicker was he missed 2 field goals earlier, 2 easy short field goals. So that obviously had something to do with it. But if I was them, I would have just went for it. You need 6 yards to win the game. And they punted it. Notre Dame scored. And that was that. But I think Notre Dame defense is really good, as we've seen. Duke offense is good. They've been really good all year. They have a great quarterback. Notre Dame shut them down. They shut down Ohio State offense. And, Louisville, I've watched them a few times this year. The quarterback, Plummer, he throws he's very susceptible to turning the ball over. So
yes.
All the games I've watched this year, he turns the ball over a lot, throws a lot of interceptions, a lot of dumb passes. Right, a lot of passes why did
triple coverage?
Why did you just throw that pass? Like he had a pick last week in the end zone. He just threw it like I don't know what the guy was thinking, but he threw the bad.
He had a pretty good tweet about it after that.
And I think that, Notre Dame, their defense should shut Louisville down. Obviously, they could lose, but I like Notre Dame in this spot. Louisville, they're not really tested so far. They haven't really played anybody. Indiana, who's terrible. Purdue. So
terrible.
I like Notre Dame in this spot. Actually, I think they're going to shut. I think they're going to shut Louisville down. I could see even the under in this spot too, but we will see how that turns out.
It feels like the kind of game that Notre Dame could, turn the Jets on offensively too, because they had them turned on for the first 3 games of the season, and then toned it down, played safe, and commanded the games, both those games, Duke and Ohio State, till the very end. So I mean, we'll see how the game goes. I like Notre Dame here as well.
Notre Dame has played like the best team so far, like 2 of the the top 15 teams in the country. So they're really well battle
tested would be an understatement.
They're very battle tested right now. So I think Notre Dame. This could be one of those get right spots where Notre Dame, where they get back to scoring 30 points. So
I think so too.
We'll see.
I think so too. Moving on, number 16, Ole Miss. They're 11.5-point favorites versus Arkansas. Total set at 63.5. What you think?
Ole Miss. I mean, that was a crazy game last week. I mean, look, Ole Miss is coming off of an emotional game, right? Very emotional. 55-49, just an absolute barn burner. We had the over 67. So
easy, right early in the second half is when that one hit.
That was one of my parlays. I mean, that was one of my last parlay legs, and it was nice to not even have to sweat it. So, Arkansas, they were supposed to be good this year. KJ Jefferson was supposed to have a really good year, and they just have not.
He's like a seventh-year senior, dude. He's been there forever.
Even from their first game this year, like against Kent State, they have not looked very good all year. So you got their coach talking about he's not going to go on social media anymore because there's too many bullies on there and stuff like that. So it seems like they're a little flustered right now. And
it's funny because like for the last month or so, what's been going around, the only thing I can think of about bullies, not even talking about Arkansas as a team, is they've been talking about Sam Pitman. They've been talking about his moves, man. Yeah. You've seen the picture. It's been everywhere. And I mean, undoubtedly that's not what he's talking about, but good Lord, the time.
No, he said he knows he has a big chest. That's what he said. So he definitely has to do with the
poor guy.
It definitely has to do with the his chest. I mean, yeah. Look, there's plenty of fat coaches out there, so
yeah, high paid ones.
People can, face it on the internet. People can pick on, people can make fun of whatever they want. I got that email on.
That was crazy.
After, I hit one parlay on Saturday for 45,000, and then lose one to, that would have won 22,000 on Sunday. I get emails from people like that are just happy I lost. So, I mean, look, people are unhappy out there. So they look to go, make fun of somebody else to make themselves feel better. So,
hey, if it makes it feel a little bit better, then I guess go for it.
Look, there's fatter coaches than him out there, right? So,
right.
It just, I mean, yeah, I can't blame him, but I mean, who cares? He doesn't really need to be on social media. You got a football coach for an SEC school, so no need to. But Ole Miss, I would just be worried about maybe a little letdown in this spot. Like I think they win the game, but I don't know if they cover. But I know they're going to give up some points, so
they are going to give up some points. That's for sure.
I don't know if Arkansas can score them, but Arkansas, they haven't looked good at all this year. So maybe this is the week where they get it right. I mean, I think Ole Miss will score here, and I think maybe the play might be Ole Miss team total over, something like that. But yeah, I think Ole Miss wins. I'm not sure if they cover though.
Yeah, 11.5 is a large amount for me too. I don't know. I'll be at the game. I was at the game this past weekend. Got out on the field, super sick, and let's do it again this week. Maybe not rush the field versus Arkansas, but
that's crazy. I heard they rushed the field. Did you rush the field at all?
Yeah.
No video of that, huh? Like I heard a couple of helmets went missing from all the teams,
Yeah, dude. Hey, that one back there has been there multiple episodes, buddy. I'm sure there was all kinds of equipment stolen. I bet I don't know how many players are on the active rosters for these teams, but I bet there was probably about 50 helmets stolen a piece.
Yeah.
It was a good game, man. It was a good time. Like I said, hope to have another barn burner. 2 years ago in Oxford, it was 55-54, double overtime thriller, Ole Miss and Arkansas. So let's hope for another blockbuster like that. Moving on, number 17, your Hurricanes, 21-point favorites versus Georgia Tech. Total set at 57.5. I mean, I've seen Georgia Tech play in person earlier this year. Probably one of the most lackluster teams in the FBS. We've got Texas A&M former quarterback with the long arm, Haynes King. You know who I'm talking about, dude. His motion is the craziest throwing motion ever. But he looks terrible in person as well. Hurricanes minus 21. I don't know if I'm going to take the 21, but Miami team total. I mean, I watched Ole Miss hang 60 on them, 70 maybe. I like Miami team total here a lot. But
look, Georgia Tech just lost. They got they were down 38-10, I think, to Bowling Green at home. It's sad what's happened to Georgia Tech, right? They went from, firing Paul Johnson, who he did run the triple option, people can say what they want, but Georgia Tech was right there near the top of the ACC standings annually, right? So now they're on their second coach after him. Just not very good. Their offense sucks. Their defense is atrocious. I believe they just demoted their defensive coordinator to linebacker coach. So I'm sure that's going over really well with him.
I'm sure.
But their defense sucks, and it's going to be a night game at Miami. The Hurricanes are ranked 17th now. They're 4-0. They're coming off a bye week, so they're fully rested. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for Georgia Tech. It's going to be a night game at Hard Rock Stadium. So probably be the most attended game of the year so far, more than Texas A&M, because it's a night game. They get some pretty good crowds for night games. So, yeah, I think this is a spot where the Hurricanes, it's just like a pick your score, right? So we'll see what they want to do. I don't think Cristobal is too worried about if he covers or not, but I think the Hurricanes will go up and down the field. I love their offensive coordinator, Shannon Dawson. The guy he doesn't stop, right? Like he doesn't stop. Like if the Hurricanes are up 3 touchdowns, he's trying to score. He's throwing the ball, trying to score a 4th touchdown. So
see, I love that. I love that as a Miami team total better.
He keeps his foot on the pedal, and I really like that. I think the Hurricanes have some big things in store for this year. And Georgia Tech, it's just 2 programs going the opposite direction. So I think the Hurricanes roll Georgia Tech. So
I agree. All right, hey, that's it for the college football slate. Let's move on to the NFL. We got Thursday Night Football. Commanders 5.5-point favorites versus the Bears. I mean, this game's over in no. Sorry, it's Thursday Night Football. Yeah, this game.
They should play this game at Guantanamo Bay.
Snooze fest, dude. Absolute snooze fest.
They should play it in Guantanamo Bay because the Bears just deserve to be in prison with how they play. Losing to a 28-7 lead with 2 minutes left in the third quarter last week to the Denver Broncos. So the Denver Broncos this year, one of the shittiest teams I've ever seen. Russell Wilson sucks. Sean Payton sucks. I talk about it all the time. One of the most overrated coaches in NFL history. He's got actually a worse record than Mike McCarthy. Same resume, but people think he's an all-world coach. He gets paid $18 million a year, which is just insane. Right, they got lucky last week to win. The Bears more or less blew that game.
Yes.
And the Bears, I think it's hard to see the Bears like competing this week just because they're coming off. They thought they had that game won last week, and it got ripped out of their hands.
A lot of people thought they had that game won.
Justin Fields was sitting on the sideline after the game, like on the bench, just with his head in his hands, like depressed and stuff. And I just don't see it. I can't. But he's part of the problem too, right? So
right.
I just don't see. I mean, it's hard to lay 5.5 on the road with the Commanders, but everybody's probably thinking like most of the sharp bettors are going to take the 5.5 for a home dog, right? On a short week, at home. I'm not going to say I can. Actually, it's hard to bet the Commanders because it's a short week, right? The Bears are staying at home. It's always tough for the road team. And 5.5, that's a lot to lay for a home dog. So I don't know. I mean, maybe the Bears showed us they can score last week, right? But the Commanders have been playing pretty good defense. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this game. I might stay away, but the line says take the Bears, but it's just really hard to bet. It's really hard to bet $1 on the Bears of your hard-earned money, So. I'll probably take a couple player props in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to find something on the game, but I don't know if I could take 5.5 with the Commanders because the Bears did figure out that they could score this past week, unlike all the other weeks. But I mean, I guess we'll just have to see. Thursday night, a typical Thursday night game, snooze fest. Like you did.
Unfortunately.
Moving on. This is the game overseas, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Bills 5.5-point favorites versus the Jaguars. Total set at 49. I love these games over there. I mean, it's nice to wake up and have a game going.
Yeah,
or a game about to start. It's just really nice. But I mean, the Bills have looked great. The Jaguars have looked stinky. They looked good this past week, but what you think?
I had the Jags -3 on Sunday. I wouldn't even say they looked good. They looked whatever. I mean, they did their job. they had a couple of chances to blow it, but they didn't. And the Bills looked great. The Dolphins went up to Buffalo hot, and the Bills, it was a shootout to start the game, and the Bills, pretty much poured it on them after that. The Bills played some great defense. Josh Allen played great, 5 touchdowns, and they beat probably the hottest team in the NFL, the Dolphins. So I think I think the Bills this year. We've seen Josh Allen take leaps and bounds of improvement ever since he lost to the Jets, and he said this loss is on me, right? He said I was terrible. I did the same stuff I always do.
It was on him.
And they should have still won that game. He said, he's like, it's the same mistakes I always make. I'm not surprised. He actually owned up and took accountability, which more guys should do. And he's come out then just firing. So I love the Bills. This Bills team, they're very good. The Jaguars defense has not played very well this year. Their secondary, I think CJ Stroud passed over 300 yards against them. Just torched them. Their special teams is not very good. I think and they've been over this Jags' second week over there in London, so they stayed over there, so that they might be acclimated to the settings a little bit more. But they also haven't been home in a week, right? So a week and a half it'll be by the time
There's
game rolls around.
There's positives and negatives to it, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. They haven't been eating the kind of food they're used to over there, probably, and stuff. So the Bills, I think the Bills come over to Tottenham Stadium and want to put on a show. And I don't know if I might not lay I think the Bills are at least touchdown better. But the better play I like is this over 49, because I feel like they get into these shootouts overseas, right? The offenses really travel. It's easier for offense to travel than defense, I think. So I would lean the Bills and the over right here.
I like it. They're trying to show off for the fans over there, man. Get them acclimated to the game.
And it helps that Buffalo just faced like Tua, who is the number 1 quarterback in all the ratings in the NFL. Now they're going to face Trevor Lawrence, who's been,
stinky,
very mediocre to start this year. So yeah, I think it's a good spot for the Bills.
Good spot for Bills fans. Yeah, right. Moving on, Ravens 3.5-point favorites versus the Steelers. Total set at 38. I added this to our run sheet. Huge rivalry game, and the total is at 38. So that's where we're going to. What you think?
Well, Kenny Pickett, I don't know. I'm not sure he's playing. It's not, but Mitch Trubisky's the backup, and honestly, there's really not much of a difference there.
Right.
I actually like Mitch Trubisky. I think he had a
he's
winning
the most unlucky NFL draft pick of all time.
He had a winning record in Pittsburgh. I mean, not in Pittsburgh. He had a winning record in Chicago. Took them to the playoffs twice. Had some great years, and basically just got shipped out of town for Justin Fields. So the Ravens, they've been playing well to start the year. Lamar Jackson looks good. Lamar Jackson, anytime touchdown scorer, is like the best bet you can make every week now. The Steelers are coming off of a really bad loss, right, to the Houston Texans.
Yes.
After the Steelers looked very good in Vegas, they come out and they just lose to they got destroyed by the Texans. I mean, the Texans defense shut them down. CJ Stroud did whatever he wanted. So I think, the Steelers, we've seen them on their defense doesn't play like the 85 Bears, that they don't really stand a chance in these games. So I like probably the Ravens right here in this spot, just because the Steelers, I just scored 9 points against Houston, right? I don't really have much confidence in that offense. So
yeah,
and there comes out their offensive coordinator Matt Canada has like a burner Twitter account. He's tweeting fans and stuff, like talking about him and stuff. So I don't know what's going on with the Steelers, but that's a very
seems to be some
bad
imploding
loss
going on. Yeah.
They do seem to be imploding, so I would definitely lean probably the Ravens right here.
Yeah, small number 2, 3.5 points favorites. Moving on, Broncos 1. This is the craziest one of the week. Broncos 1.5-point favorites versus the Jets. Total set at 43.5. I cannot ever, with this Broncos team, 1.5-point favorites over the Jets team that's finally figured out that Zach Wilson can somewhat play and that they could score. They're underdogs to the Broncos. It makes no sense to me.
And the Jets defense coming off of a great performance against Mahomes. They made Mahomes look terrible.
Oh man, did they?
And the Jets defense did everything they could to win. They had a couple unlucky breaks with penalties and stuff, but the Jets played very good on Monday night. or Sunday night, whatever it was. I just, Russell Wilson versus Zach Wilson. I think at this point, Zach Wilson might be better than Russell
I'm
Wilson.
taking Zach.
Russell Wilson's not very good. He just, I don't know. I have no faith in the Broncos. Going down 28-7 last week to the Bears, that was the real Broncos, right? That was the Broncos we've had all season.
Yes.
I'm not going to let one quarter fool me on a comeback, against the Bears, who also suck. So I think that the Jets defense is just very good, and I think they come to play. And I wouldn't be surprised if, Russell Wilson threw 2-3 picks. I think Zach Wilson's got some more confidence coming into this week, maybe some swag, like even LeBron tweeted Zach Wilson saying, "Hey, you played great, keep it up." And I think maybe Zach Wilson gets some momentum coming into this week. Maybe the coaches see that, hey, let's let Zach air the ball out a little bit, right? We let him throw a little bit last week, so let's let him throw it. And
they should. You watch clips of him from college, and he is, he is a cocky player out there. He's playing with the confidence is oozing out of him, and he is good. He was so good at BYU.
I definitely wouldn't bet.
And he doesn't look anything like that now.
I have no intention of betting any money that I've made in my life on Russell Wilson. I just don't see it. I don't see it anymore. And Sean Payton,
might as well light it on fire, dude.
Sean Payton he's a trash coach, and the Broncos.
Drew Brees was his crutch for years.
Now
you're seeing it.
Broncos fans went from saying, "Hey, we have an outside shot to win a division" before the year started, to now they're like, "Oh well, this was the plan all along. We're tanking for Caleb Williams," right? Yeah. So it's never.
The plan all along was to give your quarterback $300 million and then tank to get a new one. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
Exactly.
Unbelievable, dude.
I just think it's just a bad. The Seahawks got the best of that Russell Wilson trade, but it's not even close, right? So,
hey, they got Drew Lock, dude. Drew Lock. He played good.
He's better than Russell Wilson right now.
100%.
So I would definitely go with the Jets right here.
Yeah,
or maybe the Broncos under team total, something like that.
Yeah, Broncos under team total. Jets money line. I just can't see the Broncos winning this game, but I've been wrong before a lot, so we'll see. Moving on, 49ers, 4-point favorites versus the Cowboys. Total set at 45. I don't really know what to expect here. I haven't been able to predict which Cowboys team is going to show up every week. It's their defense playing great. It hasn't really been their offense playing great that much. But their defense is unreal. And the 49ers defense is unreal, and their offense is clicking. I don't know what to think about this one.
I'm definitely leaning with the Niners, and I would probably take the over, actually, because they've been giving up some
45.
points. I just think the Niners, their defensive line, Dak has been getting sacked a lot this year. The Cowboys' red zone offense is just terrible, right? I think they scored one touchdown on 5 red zone possessions last week against the Patriots. That's
got to make that parlay loss hurt a lot more.
It does. I just don't see. And Mike McCarthy does some stupid stuff sometimes that makes me scratch my head. Like it's 4th and 6 or something like that. They're up 31-3, and he goes for it from the 30 instead of just kicking a field goal. I don't. Some stuff he does doesn't really make any sense. But the Niners, I just think the Niners have more playmakers that, they got McCaffrey, who scored in 15 straight games.
Yep.
I think the Niners just have the better offensive line, the better running back, the better tight end. They got all these guys at wide receiver playing well. Brock Purdy, who protects the ball, but who can play. Brock Purdy's a player. We can all see that now. And Dak, I'm not really sold on Dak. His stats say he's a good quarterback. I don't know. Sometimes I just don't see it. I think that the Cowboys, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think they miss Zeke Elliott because the running game. Tony Pollard now, when you see that you have to run, be the man to run, it's
a big change.
I haven't seen it, right? Teams are preparing for Tony Pollard now and he's not having very much success. So I do like CeeDee Lamb, but outside of that, I don't know. Dak just makes some bad throws. And in the red zone, their red zone offense, red zone play calling is very questionable.
Stagnant.
So
the 49ers are just better coached in my opinion.
They are.
Their red zone offense doesn't look stagnant.
And the 49ers, they own the Cowboys, right? They've owned the Cowboys for the last few years. So I think Shanahan's a better coach, and I don't really see that changing. I'm definitely not betting against the 49ers.
No chance.
But yeah, I like the 49ers and maybe the over right here. We'll see. But I think the Cowboys, Cowboys fans are going crazy this year, and this is their year and stuff.
Shocker.
That's every year, right, for the Cowboys.
For the last 25.
I just don't see it with Dak doesn't run. When Dak a couple of years ago before he broke his foot, he would take off. He would run a lot. You'd be worried about Dak running for 40 yards.
It's not a threat anymore.
It's not. He just sits back in the pocket. He passes. He takes a lot of sacks. 4th and 1 last week. They're on the 5-yard line going in to score. 4th and 1, they go for it. Play action. He fakes it, gets sacked right away. So I don't know. I don't see the 49ers are just a much better team. So
I agree.
I would take the 49ers in this spot.
I agree, man. Hey, that wraps up our list. You got any other games you want to touch on? Any other topics?
No, I'm just ready for you. Hope we can repeat the $700 to win $45,000 this week. We had it's just a sick week last week, football.
It was sick. What a weekend, dude. Tell them about it.
Although the last 2 weeks, NFL I've won every week this year. So it's been nice. But I think we went 14-4 last week in college.
Started off 11-0. Unbelievable morning.
Started off 11-0. I think we started off NFL 7-0 also. So it's been nice. I feel like I'm fishing with dynamite. That's what I said last week. So
hey, that's a good problem to have when you're a sports handicapper and you've got clients that are taking your picks, man. And you can get all the picks, BeatinTheBookie.com. All the packages are on there. And hey, you want to fish with dynamite like us? Come on over and join.
Sounds good. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll do these every week. So just keep tuning in, and we've got the NHL starting in 6 days. So that's the moneymaker too. NHL totals. There's nothing.
So ready for NHL.
So cannot wait for that. Can't wait for that red zone stuff you were talking about with the NHL. It's going to be fun also.
Frozen Frenzy, I think that's what they're calling it. Oh man, dude, that's going to be a game changer for NFL or NHL.
It'll get a lot of people who aren't casual NHL fans into the door. So I like where they're going with that.
And they're staggering the starts 15 minutes on that day one. it's going to be that day one is going to be unbelievable.
I'm actually headed to a wedding in New York, and thank God the wedding they must have known that I wouldn't have come on a Saturday or a Sunday because the wedding's on Friday night. So don't have to worry about missing any games.
Nice.
So I'm looking forward to being up in New York betting on DraftKings or FanDuel or whatever. So can't wait.
Doesn't get any better, man. Doesn't get any better. Hey, appreciate all you guys tuning in every week. We'll be back next week. Enjoy the football weekend, man. A lot of big games. Let's do it. We'll see y'all.